Okay, here we go. We're going to get into a little bit of how Judy and I do our planning for a POTA activation. I want to start by saying we don't have internet at the clubhouse, so decided to do this at home and make a video of it. I'm planning on reviewing it at the meeting on Wednesday, and then I'll also have it posted on YouTube. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing you want to do is go to parksontheair.com. It's a website that has the tools that we need to figure out what we're going to do at a park. So all the controls are here in this bar. There's a map of entities. That'll be the POTA map, and it'll show you the various parks in various parts of the state and country that you might be able to activate. There's a help getting started page. One of the first things you want to do is sign up for POTA. It's free, and they walk you through it. So it should be pretty straightforward. That way, when we do our activation on the 14th, you'll also get credit for the stations you work as in addition to the club call sign getting credit for it. So that'll work out nice, get you started. Also, you can click here to go to the rules, frequently asked questions. Judy just went over some of them that are relevant to what we're going to be doing. And they also have video guides for activators. Now, the activators, the ham that goes to the park, sets up their station and tries to make contacts by calling CQ. There's also an activator PDF guide you can download. And then the video guides for hunters. The hunters are the folks that stay home, generally using their base station, and try to make contact with the activators so they can accumulate QSOs as well. And then there's a PDF guide for the hunter. This is where you would log in. I think it's also where you would go to sign up. There's an awards page that explains all the awards, and there's definitely a bazillion of them. There's a POTA scheduler, and what that is, we'll go ahead and take a look at it, is a page that before you go to your park, or even while you're at the park, I suppose, you set up and announce to everyone what you're going to be doing. For example, here, W8RBY is going to a Park K 1996, which is Tar Hollow State Park in Ohio. And they're planning on running 20 and 40 meters and the times that they expect to be there. And all these things are approximate because things change as you go through the day. Right now, it looks like, let's look at today. Today, right now, there are 38 activations. Now, this is a Monday, and so there's going to be 38 stations on the air trying to get you to contact them if you're a hunter. The next thing you have is a POTA spots. This is probably the most useful and important tool you have, particularly during an activation. So let's go take a look at that. And what you have here is it looks similar to the planning spot, the scheduling, but there's differences in that these are the stations that are on the air right now. And you can see, for example, in all bands, we have 20 stations on the air, 4 in 40 meters, 1 in 30 meters, and 15 on 20 meters. So we'll take a look at 20 meters since it has the most stations active right now. And then this is a further filter on the mode. 2 of the 20 stations are CW, 4 are FT8, a digital mode, and 14 are single sideband. So we'll select single sideband because that's what we're planning to operate. And then the program Uh, there's 21 all total. The K program are stations for the United States, and there are 19 on the air now. And VE is the program for the Canadian stations, and we can work those just as well as we can the US stations. So we'll go ahead and select all here for the programs. We want to see both programs. QRT shows you the stations, including the ones that have already quit. QRT meaning end of transmission, I'm shutting down. So I'm going to hide the QRT stations because we really don't care about those if we're looking for contacts. And the hunted, I'm not sure what I'm not sure what this is, tell you the truth. And then you can sort all this by time, activator, frequency. And because I'm interested at this point of taking a look at 20 meters, I'm going to have it sort on frequency. And so now the frequencies are sequentially increasing. Now, this is the window format, and then there's also what I consider a more usable format if we go to the table view. So we'll click there. There's the table view, and this is what we see. So the way this works, I've got it sorted by frequency. So you could go to 20 meters on your radio and start at 14.262. See if you can work this station in Louisiana. Then you could dial up to 14.274. See if you can get this station in Pennsylvania. 284 is New York, and then you just keep working your way up the frequency dial until you get this last one here at in New York, 14.335. So if you're at home, this is a real good way to zero in on who's on the air on the band that you're looking for and on the mode that you're looking for. So now we'll go back to the Parks on the Air website. Had a brain cramp there. And we'll go back over here and look at the maps. So what we're doing is we're starting to look, trying to select a park and find out some information about it that we may want to activate. So we'll take the POTA map. I'm going to allow them to find my location. And here we are. You can see Treasure Lake here, Lake Bimini, Falls Creek. These yellow dots are parks that are in the Parks on the Air program. Okay, I think I figured it out. What we're looking at here is the map of, there's the location I'm at now. And these yellow dots are parks that are in our area that you can see on the map. And if you take a look, I'm going to zoom out, see if I can get all of Pennsylvania in. You can see how many there are. These are up in New York, but all these are Pennsylvania parks. So there's 140 some, I believe, up to the state line here. And then, of course, there's some in Ohio. And we'd go up into New York. There's quite a few of them up there as well. So what I want to do is zoom in here at our area. And you can see that this is SB Elliott Park, which is where we're going to go. See if I can close that down. Zoom in a little bit. See if I can find that one finger that pops up there. Anyway, this is Parker Dam State Park. and this is the Moshannon State Forest designation. It's all big state forests in our area. So what I'm going to do, if I can get to the thing again. Okay, I shrunk the size of the mouse pointer, so maybe that'll make it easier. So we're going to take a look at S.B. Elliott State Park, which is where we're going. And it's a very good park to activate. We'll go over some of the reasons why that is. But first, we'll take a look at information on S.B. Elliott Park that's available in Parks on the Air. And click the more info button, and this pops up. And what you have here is kind of an overview of the park. It gives you the park number, where it's located, longitude and latitude. Indicates that the park is active. There are some parks that are not active for whatever the reason might be. So you wouldn't be able to activate that type of park. And this park was first activated by N4CD on August 8th, 2017. So about 4 years ago. The park's had 32 activations out of 32 attempts and a total of 2,076 QSOs. So that gives you kind of a feel for how much activity's been at the park. It gives you the map showing you where it's located. And then over here's a chronological history of the activations that the park has had. And you can see the last one that was recorded was June 30th this year by K9MKE. He or she did the park 2 successive days. Judy was last there on May 26th and May 25th and 18th. And then it'll show you, for example, here, the last activation is contacts. He had 1 data contact, 13 phone contacts for a total of 14. The data was probably FTA. And then over on this side, and all these features are new that have just been added to the Parks on the Air website. And they really did an exceptionally good job at making information easy to find and understand. Here are the park leaders, the top 5. Judy's number 1 there with 16 activations. She's had 1,722 QSOs, and the top hunter is K4CAE, and they've had 15 contacts with this park. So you can see who the top 5 park leaders are. The other feature that's kind of neat about the new software is if you hold your cursor over a mouse or mouse over a call sign, it'll pop up a little viewer profile. As an activator, she had 111 successful activations of 44 unique parks, 9,600 QSOs as an activator. As a hunter, she's contacted 614 unique parks, 982 QSOs. She's earned 26 awards and 53 endorsements. So you can kind of get a little overview of the person tied to the call sign just by hovering over the call sign. I want to point out this particular ham. I like to kid Judy that this is her nemesis, Carrie Wright. I think she's lives in Maryland and has been at this for a number of years. Her call sign KB3WAB. I believe she's the top performer in all of the POTA users. She's activated almost 2,500 times, 637 unique parks, 94,000 QSOs, and as a hunter, she's contacted almost 2,800 unique parks with 13,000 QSOs. She has 76 awards and 270 endorsements. Still not too sure what an endorsement is. We'll get that figured out someday, hopefully. But I know whenever we go to a park where that Carrie's also listed, Judy wants to beat her number of QSOs that she had for her activation. So that's her motivation, I guess. So that gives you a little overview of the park in terms of parks on the air. So let's go. Now what I want to do is go get some other information on this park. So I'm going to copy the park name. I'm going to paste it here, and I'm going to search it in Google. Now the state of Pennsylvania has done an excellent job with the web information on the state parks. What you're looking for when you Google one of these parks is the link to dcnr.pa.gov. That's a Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, Pennsylvania. And we want to go to the individual page they have for the Simon B. Elliott Park. And when you get here, this is the page for SB Elliott. There's a lot of information, the seasons, the hours, directions. They give you all kinds of information about the park. But what we're looking for here are the maps. So right here, you'll see on the right-hand side this link to the map. So we'll pop that up. And there's a list of the maps that are available. This is the main park map, which is what we're interested in. They also have recreational guides and different types of maps for depending on what your interest is. But we're going to try and grab this one here, the main park map. So we're downloading it, and there it is. Now, what we are looking for, just to get you oriented, this is Interstate 80 coming from DuBois. This is exit 111, and this is Route 153. If you go this way, you're going to Clearfield, and if you go this way, you're heading to Penfield, which passes Parker Dam State Park as well. So if you're not familiar with topographic maps, what they are maps that show the constant height contours. Now you can see down here in the corner, it says contours are on 20-foot intervals. So what that means is that if you were here at whatever elevation this is, and you moved in this direction going down the hill, you're 20 feet lower here, another 20 feet. This shows a fairly slowly sloping hill going down. If you look right here, this is an example. Since this is the high area, you can see this is the high point here. This is sloping down, and because these lines are getting closer and closer together, it means that that hill going down is steeper and steeper. And that's a real key thing to look for on these topographic maps when you start looking at the parks. So you can see here, this whole area of SB Elliott Park is really fairly flat. It's the top of a plateau, nice drop off, slowly drop off in each direction, and nothing really sticking up above us. So that makes it a good candidate for good propagation off the antenna. So let's see if I can zoom in here. Oops, that's the wrong thing. We'll zoom in here a bit and start looking at a little more detail of the park. Let's see, there it is. So this is kind of the main body of the park. We're coming off the interstate. We come up here. The first turn off to the right is the Moshannon State Forest headquarters. You don't want to turn there. You want to go to the next one and take a right, and then this will take you down into the park. And then as you get into the park, you'll see There's a campground here. And the first thing we look for at a park are the restroom locations. And SB Elliott has this one right here. And it's on the nice flat part of the top of the plateau. So this is where we set up right off of this road in this parking lot with the restroom nearby. And that's where we'll be setting up on the 14th. So this is where we'll be going, and it's a real good park to transmit from. Now, let's see. We go back. I'm going to show you another kind of park. And we find our home. Okay, there we are. Zoom out a little bit here. So here's SB Elliott. This is Parker Dam, and this is the Moshannon State Forest all around here. So if we go up St. Mary's and then on to Emporium, where did Emporium go? Oh, right here. Come out of Emporium, there's a park here called Sizersville. And this was the most difficult park to activate that we've done so far. And we knew it was going to be difficult going in based on our study of the park. And I'll show you what we found. So this is the POTA information, park number. You'll want to note that because that'll be part of the information you give the hunters. The park is active. It was first activated on September 22nd of 2019. But if you look at the activations, there have only been 4 of them, 4 attempts. And you can see here that this one and this one didn't qualify as an activation because they had less than 10 QSOs, which is a requirement the stage that you've activated a park. And the 2 that did activate only had 25 and 31 QSOs. So it appeared to be very difficult to get QSOs out of that park. And the reason for that is, let's go take a look at the map for the park. Here we are. There's our DCNR link for the Sizersville State Park. We'll open that website. Over here to the maps. We want the Sizersville main map. And there it is. And the thing you can notice, it's quite a bit different on this map from what we saw at SB Elliott. For one thing, if we look over here on the bottom right-hand corner where the contours are, these are on 50 feet intervals. Whereas when we were looking at SB Elliott, the map was scaled to 20-foot intervals. So what that means is that every step between these contours is 50 feet change and 50-foot change in elevation. So anytime you get contours on a topographic map that are very close together, that represents a fairly steep hill. So if you look at this, this is the park here. And this is pretty typical of parks in Pennsylvania in that they form them in along streams and creeks and rivers. So that means you're down at the bottom of some hills. And this is kind of an extreme case of it where you see these hills here, goes up along here. We've got this big tall hill here. We've got this big tall hill here. And what that means is, let's zoom in a little bit, see what kind of elevations we're looking at. So here, we're at 1850 feet down here by the park. or on the creek, we're at 1250. So that's a 600 high foot hill that's going to get in the way of the propagation from our antenna. And if you look at this park, there's, like I said, these big hills here. So the only place we're going to be able to set up is down in this area. But we're going to say if we set up in here, we're going to be blocked by both of these hills and this hill on the end. So what we ended up doing was setting up in this area with a dipole. And what that enabled us to do, zoom in here, we were able to get some propagation out of this valley by running the dipole across the valley. If you remember, on a dipole, the propagation's out to the sides from the dipole, and that's how we were able to get some contacts. But they were very difficult to get because these hills really blocked the propagation out of the valley. So that's one thing you want to look at before you go to a park, and then try to identify on the map some locations that you might set up as. Now, when we looked at this map initially, it looked like down here would be the better place because you get propagation at least in 3 directions. But this was pretty grown up, and there wasn't any place to really stop to set up. And besides that, the restroom's up here. So that this is where we set up, because restrooms always first. So I think that's about it. If anybody has any questions, let me know. And I'll say 73.